Have you ever caught yourself thinking, I just need more time, I'll decide tomorrow, only to find yourself saying the exact same thing the next day? We love to tell ourselves we're being thoughtful, careful, strategic, but in reality, we're just stuck in cycles of overthinking, stuck in waiting for the perfect moment, stuck because we think we need more clarity when what we really have is too much clutter. The truth is, most people don't struggle with lack of clarity. They struggle with too many voices, too many distractions, and too much noise in their mind. We live in a world where we're flooded with opinions, what your friends think, what your parents expect, what strangers say online. And without even realizing it, we hand over our decision-making to the crowd. But here's what I want you to know. You don't have a clarity problem. You have a confidence problem. And confidence doesn't come before the decision, it comes after. Most of us are waiting for certainty before we act. We wait to be sure. We wait to be approved. We wait until it feels comfortable. But guess what? The things that grow you the most rarely feel comfortable. You're not meant to wait until you feel ready. You're meant to start before you're ready and let the action grow your confidence. Progress builds belief, not the other way around. That's why decision fatigue hits so hard. From the moment we wake up, we're bombarded. What do I wear? What should I eat? Should I reply to this message? What should I post today? All these small decisions chip away at our mental energy. And by the time it's time to make the big decision, the one that actually matters, we're too tired to think clearly. So we procrastinate, we avoid, or we default to what's easy and call it logic. But here's the truth. The best decisions are not made when your mind is most anxious. They're made when your mind is most aligned. When you're clear, centered, and connected, you decide faster, smarter, and stronger. So here's your first step. Before you try to figure it out, catch the noise. Where is the mental clutter coming from? Are you listening to your intuition or replaying the voice of someone else in your head? Are you tuning into your values or trying to make a decision that keeps everyone else comfortable? Because you'll never hear your soul whisper if you're constantly turning up the volume on everyone else's expectations. Let this be your wake-up call. Stop waiting for perfection. Start building momentum. And now, I want to leave you with one powerful question. What decision have you been postponing because you were waiting to feel ready instead of deciding to become ready through action? If this message hit home, I want you to comment below with the one decision you're committing to this week. No more delays. Hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who's stuck in indecision. You never know whose life you'll shift by simply passing this on. And thank you for being here, for growing, and for walking this journey with me. Let's get real. Most of us aren't drowning in confusion. We're drowning in too much information, too many options, too many tabs open in your browser and in your brain. And here's what happens when your mind is overloaded. You don't make better decisions. You make faster, worse, easier ones. Stanford research shows that the more you overthink, the worse your decisions become. It's called decision fatigue, and it's one of the biggest silent killers of your progress. Let me explain. Every single decision from what should I wear today to should I quit my job pulls from one limited pool of mental energy. And when that pool runs low, your brain takes shortcuts. It either avoids the decision altogether or picks the easiest, most familiar, least effort option available. Sound familiar? That's why at the end of a long day, you don't want to grow, you want to scroll. You don't want to reflect, you want to numb out. It's not because you lack willpower, it's because your mental fuel tank is on empty. That's the cost of clutter. But here's what successful leaders, creators, and even monks understand. Clarity isn't something you find, it's something you create. And it starts by protecting your decision-making energy. Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day. Barack Obama reduced small choices to save energy for high-impact ones. Mark Zuckerberg did the same. It wasn't about fashion, it was about focus. They removed distractions to preserve decision power because they knew that every tiny choice drains energy from the ones that really matter. And if some of the smartest minds in the world reduce their daily mental clutter, why are we still spending 30 minutes deciding what to eat for lunch? Let me make it practical. Here's your first shift. Make your big decisions early in the day when your energy is highest, not after 10 emails, 3 meetings, and 5 errands. Next, batch your small decisions. Plan your meals in advance. Lay out your clothes the night before. Set weekly routines for low-stakes tasks. Stop using your best mental energy for things that won't matter in 5 days, let alone 5 years. Another shift, use pre-made criteria. If X happens, then I do Y. This eliminates the emotional back and forth. For example, if I haven't heard back in 48 hours, I follow up. If it drains me for more than 2 days, I let it go. Simple, clear, done. And finally, stop renting your attention to people who wouldn't notice if you disappeared. Every should I respond, every what will they think drains your peace. Here's what I want you to take away. A clear mind doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from thinking less about what doesn't matter. Less noise equals more clarity. Less friction equals better flow. And better flow leads to better choices. The question is, what mental noise are you willing to silence so you can finally hear your own voice again? Most people treat every decision like it's life or death. You've been there. You're stressing over replying to a text, obsessing over what job title to put on LinkedIn, rereading the menu 5 times like it's a contract, and you tell yourself it's because you care. But the truth is you're just scared. Scared to choose wrong. Scared that one decision will collapse your whole life. Let me offer you a mindset shift that will change everything. It's called the Type 1 versus Type 2 decision framework. And it comes from Jeff Bezos. Type 1 decisions are irreversible and high stakes. They need deep thought, careful reflection, slow, intentional movement, choosing a life partner, investing your life savings, starting a business. Type 2 decisions are reversible and low stakes. They can be changed, adjusted, reworked, like trying a new workflow, testing a different morning routine, sending a pitch email. The problem, most people treat every decision like it's type 1. So they hesitate, they overthink, they freeze. But when you treat everything like a crisis, you end up stuck in constant anxiety, and that keeps you small. Here's the truth you need to remember. You can recover from most decisions. The world doesn't end if you choose wrong. It just redirects you. Let's say you're in a job you hate. You tell yourself, if I leave, I'll fail. If I stay, I'll suffer. But those are false binaries. There's a third option. Learn a new skill. Start freelancing on the side. Reach out to people in industries that excite you. The real issue isn't your options. It's that you've forgotten how to explore them. So here's your decision clarity tool. Ask yourself this. Is this decision reversible? If I choose wrong, can I recover? What's the real cost of inaction? If the answer is yes, I can recover, then act now. Don't wait until it's perfect. Don't wait for 100% certainty. Move with 70% clarity and course correct along the way. Because momentum matters more than mastery. Let me give you a real-world example. When Amazon was deciding where to build new fulfillment centers in the early days, Bezos treated it as a type 2 decision. If it didn't work, shut it down, move on. But when they launched Amazon Web Services, a massive infrastructure commitment that was type 1, it demanded full alignment, deep planning, and long-term vision. You don't need to obsess over choosing the right restaurant for dinner, but you should reflect deeply before saying yes to a lifelong commitment. And here's the final truth I want to leave you with. Confusion is not caused by lack of intelligence. It's caused by not knowing what kind of decision you're making. The smartest people in the room aren't the ones who know all the answers. They're the ones who ask, is this decision worth this much energy? Or am I just afraid to move? Stop wasting time chasing perfection on decisions that only need progress. You don't need more answers. You need more clarity about the question. We're taught that logic is king, that the smartest people are the ones who think the most, that the best decisions are cold, calculated, and detached. But what if I told you that's not how the brain actually works? One of my favorite insights comes from Dr. Antonio Damasio, a world-renowned neuroscientist. He discovered something most people ignore. We don't make decisions with pure logic. We make them with emotion and then use logic to justify them. Let that sink in. We feel first, then we think, and finally, we rationalize whatever we already feel. Here's the proof. Damasio studied patients with damage to a very specific part of the brain, the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. These people had perfect IQs. They could do math, solve problems, and reason flawlessly. But they couldn't make the simplest decisions, like what to eat for lunch. Why? Because they had lost emotional access. They were emotionally numb. And without emotion, they couldn't choose. That's when Damasio flipped the script on psychology. Emotion isn't the enemy of logic. Emotion is the gateway to it. Let me bring this down to your life. You feel anxious about quitting your job. So your brain starts crafting a perfect logical story. It's not the right time. The economy is rough. This isn't practical. But under all that logic, it's fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of stepping into the unknown. That's not clarity. That's a cover-up. And we do this all the time. We say, I'm just thinking it through. But really, we're avoiding the feeling underneath. So how do we shift? You start by doing what most people avoid. 1. Name the dominant emotion. Fear, guilt, shame, love, revenge. Get honest. Be specific. You can't heal what you won't name. 2. Ask, is this emotion distorted or trustworthy? Is it grounded in the present? Or is it rooted in old pain, old programming, old patterns? Just because you feel something doesn't mean it's right, but it does mean it's worth listening to. 3. Then, and only then, engage your logic. Think, reflect, analyze. But now you're leading from wholeness, not from wounds. Because when you skip the emotional layer, you end up with reactive logic. You over-explain. You overthink. You make decisions that look good but don't feel right. You know, that feeling when you say yes, but feel no. When you nod, smile, agree, and feel hollow inside. That's what happens when you ignore the emotional compass. But here's the shift. Start trusting the part of you that feels off, even if it looks right on paper. It's not overthinking. It's your inner wisdom trying to be heard. So next time you're stuck in indecision, don't just ask, what's the smart move? Ask, what emotion is driving this and do I trust it? You'll be surprised how quickly clarity follows honesty. How many decisions have you made that felt right in the moment but haunted you later? How many things have you said in the heat of emotion that you wouldn't have said if you paused for 10 minutes? The truth is, most of our regrets don't come from choosing wrong. They come from choosing small thinking only in the now. But the strongest minds don't just think short term. They zoom out. They play the long game. They ask, how will this feel later, not just now? And that's where the 10th of October 2010 rule comes in a concept developed by Susie Welch. It's a simple tool, but it unlocks massive clarity. Here's how it works. For any decision you're stuck on, ask yourself 3 questions. How will I feel about this in 10 minutes? How will I feel about this in 10 months? How will I feel about this in 10 years? Why does this work so well? Because it forces you to interrupt your emotional spiral. It pulls you out of reactivity and into reflection. See, in neuroscience, the part of your brain responsible for long-term thinking is called the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. That's the region activated when you consider consequences, values, and big picture vision. Most people don't activate it because they're too stuck in right now. But when you use the 10th of October 2010 rule, you literally shift your brain's processing. Let's make it real. You're angry. You want to send the text, the DM, the email. But ask yourself, in 10 minutes, will I feel relief or regret? In 10 months, will I even care? In 10 years, will I be proud of how I handled this? That's emotional maturity. Here's another example. You're hesitating on a new opportunity, a career pivot, a bold move. You're scared. Your brain's whispering worst case scenarios. But ask, in 10 minutes, I'll still feel scared. In 10 months, I might feel empowered or stuck in the same place. In 10 years, will I thank myself for trying or resent myself for staying still? These questions aren't about removing fear, they're about adding perspective. Here's a quick action step. Voice, record your answers to the 10th of October 2010. Don't write, speak. Why? Because when you speak out loud, your truth comes forward. You hear what your heart really believes beneath the noise. And don't rush it. Let your voice reveal your values. Let your words expose your wisdom. Sometimes we don't need more information, we need more perspective, more distance, more elevation, more clarity about what will matter later, not just what feels intense now. So the next time you're facing a tough choice, remember, you're not just choosing for this moment, you're choosing for the memory. You're choosing for the future version of you who has to live with the outcome. Be kind to that version of you. Give them something to thank you for. What if it doesn't work out? What if you give it your all and still fall short? Let's be honest, that's the fear that holds most people hostage. Not just fear of failure, but fear of failing publicly, fear of trying and not being enough, fear of going all in and still losing. But let me ask you a deeper question. If it fails, will you still respect who you became in the process? That's the question that changed my life. Because chasing success is easy. Anyone can do that. But chasing growth, chasing integrity, chasing a version of yourself you're proud to remember, that's different. See, we've been programmed to evaluate everything by the outcome. Did it succeed or fail? Did I win or lose? Did it work or not? But that mindset traps you in fear because it ties your worth to results. It says, if I fail, I am a failure. And that's a lie. What if failure wasn't the opposite of success? But part of it, what if the goal was never to live a perfect life, but a meaningful one? That's what Harvard research shows us. Our minds constantly simulate regret. We predict how bad we'll feel if it goes wrong. But here's the kicker. Those predictions are almost always exaggerated. You think it will break you, but when it happens, you realize you're stronger than you thought. You're wiser than you believed. You can rebuild. So instead of fearing regret, learn to use it wisely. Here's a powerful exercise I use. 1, create a regret simulation. Ask yourself, if I say yes to this and it fails, what will I learn? Will I still be proud of how I showed up? What will I respect more, staying safe or trying anyway? That one question alone, will I respect who I became either way, is often the clearest compass. It reminds you that who you become is more important than what you achieve. And I want to speak to the part of you that's been playing small to avoid risk. Stop asking, what if it goes wrong? Start asking, what if I never try? Because you can recover from failure. But regret, that lingers. It shows up in the quiet moments when no one's watching, when you're alone with your thoughts and you wonder who you could have been if you'd just taken the leap. And let's be real, staying safe is still a decision. It's just a quieter one with a louder cost. So choose courage over comfort. Choose bold over bland. Choose becoming over staying. Stop trying to build a perfect life. Start building a life you're proud to remember. Because one day, you won't care if you won every battle. You'll care if you lived with heart, if you followed your purpose, if you left it all on the table. Every time you make a decision, you're not just choosing an outcome, you're choosing a direction, a trajectory, a version of you that either rises or retreats. But here's the mistake most people make. They decide based on outcomes, not identity. They ask, what will get me ahead? Instead of asking, who do I want to become? And that subtle shift changes everything. Western psychology teaches us to maximize pleasure and avoid pain. But ancient Vedic wisdom offers a deeper compass. The right decision is the one aligned with your dharma, your purpose, your inner truth. That means sometimes the right choice won't feel comfortable. It might not even look successful in the short term, but it will feel true. So here's a new framework I want you to use, not based on fear, not based on approval, but based on identity. Ask yourself, one, what kind of person do I want to become? Not just what you want to have, but what you want to embody. Do you want to be brave, kind, focused, creative? Decide on the traits, not just the titles. Two, which decision reflects that version of me? If your future self, the grounded, wise, powerful version of you were in this situation, what would they choose? Not the anxious you, not the people-pleasing you, not the reactive, triggered, exhausted version of you, but the evolved you. Would they say yes to this relationship? Would they accept this job? Would they still stay silent? Three, what am I willing to lose to protect that version of me? Sometimes becoming your best self means risking comfort, applause, or even relationships. Because staying in alignment has a cost, but so does living out of alignment. And here's the truth. Most people run from, you can't become the future you by behaving like the past. The old you avoided discomfort. The new you faces it. The old you needed validation. The new you builds self-worth from within. So here's a simple exercise. Write down tres qualities your future self lives by. Now ask, are your current decisions honoring that version of you or betraying it? Because every decision is a vote for your old identity or for your next level. And I'll say this, you don't need the dream job, dream partner, or dream life yet. You just need to become the person who's ready to receive it. That version of you, they already live inside you. They're waiting on the other side of your next brave choice. So stop asking, what should I do? Start asking, who am I becoming through this decision? Because at the end of the day, it's not what you choose that defines you. It's who you choose to be, especially when it's hard.